This episode is sponsored by Whittles, ice lollies made from fruits and veggies and no baddies. Welcome to Next of Kin, the podcast. I'm your host Emma, a British expat, toddler mum and business owner living in Dubai. Join me for candid conversations about expat motherhood, business and everything in between. I've invited some incredible guests to join me this season who you are really going to want to know about. So let's jump straight in. It has been far too long since I was last sat here podcasting. So welcome back, everyone. I know I left the last episode last year in kind of a chaotic place, and that energy has kind of continued into 2025, which is why I haven't been putting any new podcasts out there. But I had to carve out some time for today's guest because, well, Bonnie went off to nursery this morning having eaten nothing. Like nothing at all, not a bite of anything. And this picky eating, fussy eating has definitely been a bit of a staple of toddler life for us. I am a bit nervous about it all because I was a terrible eater as a child and I don't want that for her. So I don't want my anxieties, I guess, to end up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's when I got in touch with today's guest, Jess, who you will find on Instagram at jess.parentingcoach. And she has come up with a whole program for the super fussy eaters called the Super Picky Eaters Program. She's also a psychologist by trade. So this is coming from someone who's not only a mum, but really experienced. She knows what she's talking about. And when I spoke to her, she also has more knowledge around the sensory aspect of food and those kind of food aversions. And that's really why I wanted to speak to her today. As I mentioned, Jess is a child psychologist with over 20 years of experience, as well as that real life parenting knowledge. And her aim is just to help you raise confident, healthy kids. Before we get into the episode, I want to introduce you to both mine and Bonnie's favourite snack, Whittles popsicles and ice creams. You might have seen on my social media that Bonnie is obsessed with pops right now, so I was thrilled to discover Whittles. It's a snack revolution. These pops are made from fruit and veggies and no baddies. They vow to make their pops healthy or they just won't make them at all. I love that Whittles was started by a local mum who was struggling to find a healthy snack for her kids that they wanted to eat. We all know how difficult it can be to get our kids to eat their veggies, right? So Whittles was born with that in mind. Both mum and son in the kitchen making healthy pops made of fruit and veggies, and that was the beginning of Whittles. Bonnie's current favourite flavour is the apple, lemon and spinach flavour, and I must admit their chocolate, vanilla and zucchini flavour satisfies my sweet tooth guilt-free. So mums, don't shy away, it's okay to steal one too. Available now both on Kareem Quick and Kibson's. Follow at the Whittles Factory on Instagram to find out more. Jess, thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. Today, I really need to speak to you personally because my daughter has just gone off to nursery without eating anything at all. So I'm really needing this conversation right now. But before we get into it, could you please introduce yourself to my listeners?
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a psychologist. I studied psychology first, and then I studied early years education, and I studied many things. I've been studying children like my whole life now. I've been working in schools and private practice for over 20 years, almost 25 now. And I've noticed how things changed from when I started studying and learning. I remember a course about, I don't know if you heard Indigo Kids and all this. And I think that was a breakthrough because now that's not important anymore. And we focused on understanding sensitivities in kids and how their sensory profile and how this affects everything because their nervous system is on alert all the time when they are very sensitive. And it will affect many areas. And that's where picky eating comes in.
Yeah. So before we get into the picky eating, I'd love to know a bit more about your background. You said you've worked in psychology for 20 plus years now.
Yes.
I wish that I studied psychology because I absolutely love it. So how did you get into that to start with?
Well, I think my story, my growing up was a bit turbulent, to say so. My brother was sick, and then my parents divorced, and there were so many things. I started going to therapy, and I absolutely loved it. It changed my life. I started going when I was 16, and yeah, it changed my life. Even though hard things happened and there were very harsh moments in my life, because I also struggled with infertility and my other brother died. There have been very hard things in my life, and I think luckily I have the tools to move forward and learn from that and be stronger and confident. And I think that's what I would like to communicate and share with anyone that comes to therapy, that things that can look really difficult at a time, you will come through and you will be stronger and you will learn from them and from yourself.
And passing these tools on to our children as well, so that they can be much more resilient, which is what we all want, really, for them to go out into the world and be able to have a happy, healthy life because they have the resilience to deal with things that will come their way. So was some of your motivation to get into psychology to, I guess, understand yourself better and also the people around you?
Exactly. Yeah. And I had like this tool to again be more confident and flexible, tolerant, and I wanted to help more people feel this way.
And now you're a mother yourself. How old are your children?
I have a 14-year-old, almost 15. And as I said, I dealt with infertility. So my daughter is 7.
Okay. So that's why you've got the gap, the 7-year gap.
Yes.
I see. And your daughter is so sweet. She came to the careers club with you, didn't she?
Yeah.
And she's such a testament to you. She was so well behaved, like happily sat there coloring, wasn't she?
Yes, she is. She has a very strong personality. She's like, I feel like she's like, I'm going in this world despite everything, because it was hard conceiving her, but like she is something. She has a very unique way.
Yeah, that's so sweet of you to say. I feel similarly about my daughter. Like she's just a little force. And it's not because we struggled to conceive. We actually had the opposite, which makes me feel like she's just this little force that's meant to be here. And she just decided she was going to be part of this family. Like, I just love it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
I'm intrigued to know, seeing as you had this background in psychology, did you find that when you became a parent, things were quite surprising? Was there anything that surprised you about becoming a parent?
Yes. Well, when I had my son, I felt so confident, like it was going to be super easy. And at the beginning, it was. I think being around children before having my own made me feel confident. And I was not these parents who say, be careful, you're going to fall. I knew kids fall. I knew kids get dirty. So he grew up being very confident and very strong, but he is very sensitive too. It was not shown in pick eating, but it was shown in the emotional way. So yeah, I think every kid has their own ways, and thinking you know everything because you've worked with many kids, you have no idea. Everyone is going to need something specific. And now I think that the solution is to really know your kids, like know their sensory profile, know what things trigger them. It took me a while, but I realized my son cannot be hungry. And it's something as simple as that, but he cannot be hungry. And these little things, that going to a party and having only candy would trigger horrible things. And what I think is our attention is what we need to make like finer, not just pay attention to them, but try to connect and understand in a deeper level.
It's interesting that you say that, and just thinking out loud, but something I've been considering lately is the different ways that different generations parent. And I guess something that I felt coming into being a mum myself was that there was kind of just a set way that I saw myself as a parent and how I was going to parent my daughter. But actually, she came out and she was a real individual and needed a specific way of me parenting her. So I find that in the past, maybe other generations has had this one size fits all approach to parenting. And then if you don't fit into that mold, maybe you're a difficult child or something like that. Whereas I feel like we're coming into a really individualized way of parenting these days.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, because someone would say like, his tantrums, like, and mothers would be like, oh, I'm not doing a good job because he's making a lot of tantrums every party. And if you understand your child's specific needs, you can help integrate and understand himself and not feel judged or affect his self-esteem, and just learn to work with him. And this will give him tools to grow stronger. And now he's 14. He's obviously not doing tantrums. He knows he needs to eat. And he's super adaptable, easygoing, confident. Like, I'm amazed. Everyone was, oh, wait until he's a teenager. With these tantrums, when he's a teenager, oh my God. And it's quite the opposite. Like, he really is settled, open-minded, and it's beautiful to see that.
Tantrums could be a whole topic for our conversation today. We are in tantrum city at the moment. She's 2 and 4 months nearly, I think. So we're right in the thick of it the last few weeks, especially with so many changes going on, like nursery. So yeah, I'm not even going to ask you anything about tantrums because I could make that an hour long, picking your brains. So why don't we get into picky eating?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was a picky eater, and I do remember always being hungry, but believing it was a stomach ache. So when they offered food and I felt disgusted, I would say, no, I have a stomach ache. I cannot eat. Growing up like that, and after that, understanding my body and having a connection to understand hunger cues that I had no idea, it made my relationship to food a bit difficult. And I think this is what we want to avoid when we have a picky eater. We want to have them understanding their bodies, understanding their needs, and not feeling this anxiety or this, because they feel scared. It's like their nervous system is aware all the time. And this opposite of relaxation is not going to allow them to enjoy food. So I think that's the most important part. And it's the same with the tantrums, because if you understand your child, what they like, which things are easier for them, you can create your own like plan to get them to try new things. And it's funny because some parents think like if they follow one tip, this is going to work. Like the typical get them to cook with you and they will try the food. No, they didn't try it. Well, it's not a win or lose situation. It's just a path you have to go. And if they cook with you, that's a win, because they were able to touch the food, they were able to interact with the food and not feel this stress around food. And that is a win. So we need to understand that this is sensory integration. For them, their system is on alert, and we need to help them make sense of all the world without the stress, and help them change into being explorers and enjoy this area.
It's interesting because, like you said, you were a fussy eater in one way. I was a very fussy eater. And I think now that all I've seen is people discuss it on like Facebook groups and things. So I have not spoken to an expert about this, but I think I might have been that one step further where I genuinely was quite scared of food, and it was a real big deal. Unlike you, I don't remember feeling hungry ever. And so having to have dinner was like an inconvenience to my life. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to be able to eat everything on my plate. And then it's going to cause an argument. And I definitely felt that anxiety. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid with Bonnie. But isn't there a name for that, sort of like where it's actually something they're scared of?
Yes. Sorry, I don't remember the name in English. Sorry.
But you do that work around sensory profiles, and maybe that's something to do with it, because textures for me was something. And for example, Bonnie, since we weaned her, mashed potato just absolutely disgusts her. Like there's no chance she's going to, even chips, because it's got that like fluffy inside. So I'm really interested to hear a bit more about the sensory profiles and what that even means.
Okay, well, it's funny because each sense can have their own variable. You can be hypersensitive. Hypersensitive means that with very, very little stimuli, your brain feels like it's too much. So you do not need a lot of input to sense something. Okay, so this is why they don't like, let's use a touch sense, for example. They don't like to touch, they don't like to explore. Some of these kids even won't crawl because they don't want to put their hands on the floor. Right. And it has nothing to do with their development or coordination. They just don't want to touch the floor. And we can go to the other side of the scope, and it's hyposensitive kids that they want to touch everything. They love to get dirty. They are touching all over the place, and they need a lot of information from the environment for their brain to pick it up. So this is why they are seeking. So these are the two ways. It could be avoidant or seeker. So, and everything in between, obviously. Okay. And this goes for each one of the senses. So a child can be hypersensitive to taste, but hyposensitive to touch. And that is very tricky because they need like stronger flavors, but the texture, and that's where we create this hard mixes to find the way to get them to eat.
I'm trying to use that now for Bonnie to try and figure out, because I don't think she's really sensitive to, say, smells. I would say she's not sensitive to touch because she's one of those babies that was like putting everything in her mouth all the time. She wants to touch and explore everything. But at the moment, she does seem to be sensitive to those textures within food, for sure. I guess that's a difficult one with vegetables always, isn't it? And she's quite sensitive to the taste. But yeah, she's not, I can't really place her in this spectrum of where she is, because she'll like some really strong taste, but not other strong tastes, you know?
Okay, because if someone is hyposensitive, they need more information. Bland textures, as you said, the mashed potatoes will disgust her because it's bland and the texture is like soft. Yeah. She would prefer something crunchy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Or something strong, like even Greek yogurt or something like that. Yeah. Maybe she likes. Yeah. So it's the same for both because they are selective. They don't like the opposite, right? But in this case, since she likes exploring and touching, that could be your gateway to get her to try things.
Yeah, she loves to cook with me. And it's so funny because even at the moment, cake is quite, she's not really sure how she feels about cake, but she wants to make cupcakes with me. And then she wants to make them so that she can just walk around with it and pretend to eat it, but she doesn't actually eat it.
Yes, that's exactly how my daughter was. And she never liked milk. Like we struggled a lot with her growing up because she didn't like milk. And even like breastfeeding, I knew it was for comfort. She didn't like the milk per se. So we tried all formulas. And by the time she was 1.5, she stopped having milk because she didn't like it. So I started giving her food and purees and baby food. She hated. But when she started eating, because one day I was desperate enough, I gave her some of my food. I'm Mexican, I like spicy food, and she loved it. And I was like, what's wrong? How can she like something spicy and not like a banana?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's you have this way now that she's two, it's easier to give her stronger things that maybe you think because she's a baby she won't like, but she will. And having her to cook, and while cooking you try something like modeling, they see us, and if they see we are picky they will say, okay, it's perfectly fine to separate food on the plate and not eat this. So we have to be role models. That's the first thing. But just having them enjoy and give them the option without fighting, without, to get them to be relaxed and enjoying, and they will eventually enjoy. Like, watch for the little wins. If she
Yeah.
loves baking with you, that's perfect. And eventually she will start trying.
Okay. So what's the most common problems that you see when it comes to toddlers and their picky eating?
Okay, to be honest, yes, it's a sensory profile, but the problem is after what the parents do. So if the parents are too strong coming and they force them or shame them or negotiate, bribe, that can create bigger problems.
Yeah.
Because they will feel the stress even bigger, and that's when they start creating this very negative patterns. So the most important always is to work with the mom to get them to relax and see this long term. Just think that you want to create a good relationship to food. That's it. That's the important thing. And to give them the options. If you're relaxed and, okay, today I bought, let's say, something they don't usually eat, let's say grapes, and I want you to try. If you don't like them, it's fine. But I bought them in case you like them because I love them. And just leave them there, present a few times. Sometimes they just lick and don't want to see it again. Forget about it for 1 month and then try again. And this way, looking at a very long time, they will start eating. I've worked with a child who is in the spectrum, and this is the way we did it. Like 3 items a month, and very, very little by little. Like, okay, this month we're going to work on fish. No, I hate fish. No, I know. You don't have to eat it. We will have what you like, your meat and your chips with loads of ketchup and whatever they like, because that makes them feel comfortable and lower these defenses. But I'm gonna eat fish, and you're just gonna try a little. If you don't like it, it's fine. Like, removing the pressure. So eventually, he got to eat it, and he discovered he liked some foods that he didn't even want to try. Obviously he was older, he was, I don't remember if 8 or 9, but now he's 15 and he's eating mostly everything.
Do you have any tips then for the mums to help them manage that? Because for me, 90% of the time I'm fine with offering her food and her rejecting it. But that 10% of the time, it really irritates me. And I'm probably quite snappy and not as I should be. So have you got any tips there on how I manage that? Because it's always the food that you've spent lots of time preparing that they liked last time they ate it, but now they don't like it. And it's always on a day where you've had no sleep and you can't cope.
Yes. Well, I think we have a lot of pressure nowadays, and we think we should never snap and we're going to scar them for life. And well, that's not true. Like, we had parents snapping at us every day and we're fine. And we just, and in my case, I never heard a sorry. It was the way it was. And now we say, sorry, I snapped. But, and you can just communicate, learn how to communicate with your kid, even when they are very, very young, because they will communicate back. And if you give them these tools of explaining feelings, that it even is something positive. Like, I'm sorry I snapped. It's not you. I was very tired and hungry. And sometimes I don't know how to express my feelings when I'm frustrated. I'm going to try harder because I know we can all be better. And I would like to be better. And this language is going to make them think, oh, if my mom makes mistakes and she tries to be better, then I can make a mistake and I can try to be better. Like, it's fine. So my advice would be, don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as, I guess, it's not the majority of the time, and then you need to work on it, but now and again. And how do we cope with when toddlers loved a food? So last week, Bonnie loved carrots. She had a list of vegetables that she would eat, and they were like her safe vegetables. This week, she doesn't want a single vegetable.
Just worth what is happening. Like, I know you love carrots. I know you enjoyed them last week, and I know you don't feel like having carrots this week. Don't worry, we won't. Next week, we will try again because I know you love them. Like, let's not make things so definite. Like, if they don't like it, that's something that puts the pressure on us because we think, oh, this week she's not having carrots. That's gone. She will never have carrots again. And that's not the case. Like, you can love something and don't feel like it this week, and it's fine. And just tell her this. I know you don't want carrots this week, and that's perfect. What would you like to try? Maybe it's a great opportunity to try something new. What would you like to try now? And just swap it around.
Interesting, because what you say is making a lot of sense when I look at the bigger picture. I think what we find harder is the day to day. So, for example, this week, Bonnie just doesn't want to eat. And I've already spoken to her pediatrician who's explained that she'll eat in growth spurts at this stage. But still, as a mum, I can see her lose weight in those times where she decides she isn't going to eat. And it's so difficult. So, yeah, any advice around that?
Well, yes, I know it's very, very hard to see this. And just try to give her things that are more packed. And what I always suggest is giving them a plate. I love these plates with the divisions, and give them the 5 food groups, which would be carb, a good source of whole grains, something, then some protein, some good fats, then fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables I count as another group because they need them all the time. So if you present a plate with these 5 separate things, she will pick one at least. And you can save the other things for later. And the next time you think in a couple of hours she will be hungry, you will give her more options. Having things separate when they are trying to integrate their senses, it's very good because they understand the taste, the texture before you cook it all together in a meal.
Interesting, because I was thinking along the opposite lines, and I was worried that she would always want things to be separate if I don't mix them up a bit, because she definitely likes her food separate at the moment.
It's totally normal. And, I think it's more personality, but it's together with a sensory profile, obviously. But if they like mixed, they will take one of each.
Yeah.
And if they like it separately, they will always have it separately. Even my son, who's almost 15, he likes to finish his rice first, then the chicken, that he eats separately. And my daughter, she likes together, everything mixed. And I gave them the same way, the plates separated until they grew, obviously.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of learning as well to trust my daughter's instinct, like this instinctual eating that we wish that we could do sometimes. I mean, the other week she was eating butter with a spoon, and I had to Google because I was like, is this okay? Like, do I need to take the butter off her? And I mean, Google did tell me like it was fine, but yeah, it's quite hard to do isn't it? Sometimes for the parents is to just trust them sometimes.
Yes, maybe she needed more fat because she's not eating as much. So this is energy, more energy contained in smaller portions. So this is why I always suggest giving them also the fat in each meal, like avocados, not breads at this age because of the choking hazard. But when they grow older and they can chew nuts or seeds, coconut, all these fats are very good for this moments when they are not eating as well.
Is there a point, though, that this does tip over into an issue, just, going from picky eating to maybe an indicator of a bit of a red flag for a parent that there's maybe some, I don't know, some sort of feeding disorder or something deeper at play here?
Yes, there are moments where this could go into an eating disorder, and we, of course, want to avoid this. If we have a child that every time they sit and they are hungry and they won't eat and they are refusing everything, and you see babies are not, their diapers are dry, they need food. And yes, when you get to these cases, they are losing weight and they are not gaining it back, you need to see an expert.
Yeah.
Like their pediatrician, with a nutritionist. You need to do a group to help them. So to be honest, most of the times we tend to see it as something huge, and most of the cases it is not this big problem. It is something that can be fixed from home if you, as a mom and dad family, we change the perspective and be relaxed. But if everyone is stressed and screaming, that's when we get the problem. If mom is not stressed, it's the most helpful way to get it.
Not the easiest for the mums, is it, to stay stress-free, but we will try.
Yeah, but let me tell you something that is really reassuring. Like a 2-year-old, how much does your daughter weigh?
12 kilograms.
12 kilograms, that means she needs no more than 20 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
She could be perfectly healthy with 12 kilograms. So it's between 1 and 1.5. So 20 is too much. And 12 grams of protein, it's 2 eggs. Okay. I'm sure she's getting her protein intake daily. Plus they're having milk, right?
Not in Bonnie's case.
But but I'm sure she's having, because bread, even a slice of bread has like 2 or 3 grams of protein. So I'm sure they're getting there. It's very, very easy to get a toddler in their nutritional needs.
Yeah, sometimes I look at her plate as well and I think about how much she's eaten and I'm like, oh my goodness, she's barely eaten anything. And then I look at the size of her compared to the size of me and my portion, and I'm like, you know what, that probably is the size of your stomach, what you've eaten.
Exactly.
Okay, so quick practical tips for the mums. I want to know if we are hiding our veggies, because we all like to make hidden veggie pasta sauce, don't we? Yeah. Should we be hiding these vegetables, or is it just counterproductive?
Well, actually, it doesn't affect. It's better for them to have their veggies with their pasta. It's fine. But the tip that I would say is, if you're going to do, let's say, carrots, just keep a few carrots on the side and just boil them so they are soft and give them the carrots there.
Okay.
You're already cooking them. So they know they are eating like, you're not saying this pasta has carrots, but they will know they could try the carrots. If we never give them the carrots because we already know it's in the pasta, they will think they are not supposed to have carrots. It's only for grown-ups or something. Yeah. Because I see my parents having it and not me. So just put them on the side, even if they don't touch them.
Okay. And then for those parents who just have a child who refuses to eat anything apart from their very few specific foods.
Okay, so what I would say is, again, this plate with many divisions, and put 3 things that they like and 2 that are new. And if they say, I don't like this, oh, how can you not like it? You never tried it, but you don't have to eat it if you don't want to. I'm just giving you the option because I love it. and that's it. Just always open with no stress and keep showing up these new things you want them to try. Because if we do not, again, if I am very repetitive about this, but if we don't give them, they are going to create a belief around this. They learn from what we do. So if we don't eat it, if we don't give it to them, why should they have them?
And then the last question I've got for you is for the parents of neurodivergent children. And I'm sure this could be a podcast in itself, but do you have any specific ways of approaching picky eating differently for neurodivergent children?
I'm going to be totally honest here. I've worked with a lot of neurodivergent children, but only verbal. When they are nonverbal, it's out of my reach, to be honest. But when they are verbal, you can do the same. It's exactly the same. As I said in the beginning, I worked with this boy, and we explained to him, you cannot be surviving in meat and chips. You need more vitamins, your body needs more minerals. And he understood everything, and he tried. No stress. And also explained them that their brain is telling them that this could be dangerous, but it's not. You need to understand this is okay. And it is okay if you don't like it the first time. Our taste buds are evolving and are changing every day. And even as adults, we don't like the same things we liked as kids because our taste buds change through our lives. So you just need to try and see. Maybe you're missing out on something you might love. So just try it. And this way, little by little, with no pressure and just being available, it did work out.
When you said earlier, what did you say? That it just brought me straight back to my childhood. My parents used to always say, how do you know if you don't like it if you haven't tried it? And I'd be sat there like, I just know. Trust me, mother, I know.
I know. It looks.
My dad would say, he said something like, children in Africa don't have this food. I don't know. There's probably a common thing that parents used to say back in the day, so that I should be grateful. And my 3-year-old brain would be like, well, I don't want it. Send it to them. They need it. I don't want the food.
They can have it.
Yeah, they can have it.
There are many ways we can communicate. We can communicate with them on how to nurture their bodies and how to take care of themselves. And this is very powerful because this is a great tip. I tell the little ones that they have little soldiers on their stomach. This is the microbiome. And they need to feed their soldiers. If a virus comes, their little soldiers will be all weak and not able to fight off the infection. And the little soldiers love fruits and vegetables and fiber. So whenever they are eating something that we know it's very healthy, we could say, oh, your little soldiers must be very thankful because you're feeding them. So just create these positive things that they are taking care of themselves.
Okay, I was actually going to round up the episode, but you've touched on something there, and that's the language that we use around food. And my daughter, so she is only 2, but she is very verbal. She's got really good understanding. And it's something I've had to be very careful with around. I mean, she has my taste for chocolate. And you don't want to go, no, they're bad food. But I also need to say, no, you can't eat a whole huge bar of Lindt chocolate for your dinner. How do we say that nicely?
We can say it the same way. You have to get to a balance. You can have chocolate. It's delicious. I know. And that's good for you because you enjoy it. But we also need to feed our little soldiers and our muscles. So let's have, and you can have the plate with the visions and put the chocolate there because it is as important as the broccoli, as the chicken, as the whatever you want to give them. So you can try everything. And you're not going to have 10 broccolis. I would never give you that. It's the same. I cannot give you 10 chocolates.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For her, she's been reading a book about her body. So, and at the end it says a line, something like, we need to do blah, blah, blah to be healthy and strong. And she says healthy and strong. So the other food I can say, oh, this will make you healthy and strong.
Yes, exactly. Just so they feel like they are also taking care of their body. It's some accountability for them because they can take good choices and they will feel good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jess, I will round things off there. So thank you so much for joining me. How can people get in touch with you if they would like to work with you further?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Jess Parenting Coach, and I'm launching my webpage because I moved from another platform. It will be ready in about a month. So that would be jessparentingcoach.com.
Okay, great. And I'll put all these links in the show notes. Hopefully it's up and running by the time I get this episode live.
Hopefully, yeah. We're working on it. Yes.
Thank you so much. I've got so much out of this episode. So thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Anytime. I loved it. Thank you so much.
She's fabulous, isn't she? I feel a lot more relaxed actually now after speaking to Jess, and I hope you do too with whatever sort of feeding issues you're having in your household. If you're not having these, well, I guess you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, wouldn't you? But if you are, I am right there with you. And I feel like what I've taken away is that I'm going to be less stressed in the day to day. I'm going to zoom out, see the bigger picture, realize that me being stressed is just counterproductive. And I don't tend to like advice of just not being as stressed. Like, I'm always stressed. I'm a mum. I'm a business owner. I can't help but be stressed. I'm sure you feel the same sometimes too, right? But it does take that stress away when you know that if they're just not going to eat it, like, it will be fine in the end. It'll probably be fine. So thank you to Jess today, but also thank you to Whittles, because are they not the perfect sponsor? I hope you'll go and check out their ice pops. They're honestly our favourite. And do stay up to date with everything that's happening with Next of Kin over on @nextofkin.ae on Instagram and TikTok, and my own personal account, which is emmacoulter.insta on Instagram. Remember that you can use code podcast10 for 10% off if you are shopping on nextofkin.ae. And if you'd like to do me a great favour of rating, reviewing, subscribing to this podcast on your preferred podcast platform, that really helps me out.